Hey, what's up guys? My name's You Can't Have This username, and today I'll be showing you how to get multi-kills and quad feeds with the Kolibri. Now the Kolibri, in case you don't already know, it's absolutely terrible. It literally does like 4 or 5 damage to the body at point blank range. It's awful, but it is totally possible to get multi-kills with it. And if you want feeds that look like this, or this, or this, then you're in the right place. First, a disclaimer. Realistically, I don't think it's possible to get a quad feed with the Kolibri using it in the traditional way. Trust me, I've tried. And the closest thing I've ever gotten was this clip, which is only 2 kills in a row on a kill feed. The damage is just too low and the magazine is just too small to make it work. The only clean quad feed I've ever seen that used the Kolibri as a traditional gun was from Merc Music in one of his videos, and even that was set up with some friends in a pre-game lobby, so I think it's safe to say that it's basically impossible to do in a public match. Since we can't realistically get 4 kills in a row in a short amount of time with only the Kolibri itself, we're gonna have to find some other way to go about it. Luckily, in Battlefield 1, when blowing up explosives and getting kills as a result, the kill feed actually displays the weapon used to create the explosion rather than the explosives themselves. So for example, if dynamite exploded after being shot by the Kolibri and ended up getting some kills, the kill feed is sort of tricked into thinking that the Kolibri was responsible for the kills instead of the dynamite. Now you might think that this doesn't count, and granted it doesn't involve using the weapon in the traditional way, but I think it's still technically a quad feed with the Kolibri because that's what the kill feed is displaying, 4 uninterrupted kills with the Kolibri icon. Now, on to the actual tutorial. How can you get your own Kolibri quad feed? In short, your main goal is going to be to use explosives in the method I just described to kill at least 4 enemies at once to get the quad feed multi-kill. Here's how I recommend doing it. The first step is going to be to create this specific loadout for the assault class. I recommend the trench carbine as the primary weapon because it's a 3-shot kill up close, and it's pretty reliable at medium range too, which helps a lot for fending off enemies that are a little farther away. For the secondary, we've obviously got the Kolibri, and for the gadgets, you're going to want to run dynamite and AT mines. Smoke grenades are super important for this loadout, so make sure to run those too. The melee weapon doesn't really matter a whole lot, so just pick whatever you like, but for the specializations, make sure to run inconspicuous, slink, and flak to help avoid detection. Now for step 2, load into a game, I recommend Conquest or Operations and choose your target and approach. Now what I mean by target and approach is to decide whether you're going for infantry or vehicles, and whether or not you want to try to push the enemy or camp and wait for them to come to you. To show you sort of what I mean by this, I've got a clip of each one to demonstrate. This first clip shows what it looks like pushing an enemy vehicle. This tank was pretty damaged, so I chased it out of bounds, laid down some dynamite, and got the quad feed that way. In this one, I pushed up behind a huge group of enemies that were in a building, and as they started to run out and push my team up ahead, I got them from behind and was able to get a nice quad feed that way. Now in this one, I managed to get a quad feed by camping the enemy's vehicle spawn and waiting until I heard a tank rolling by. As it came by, I shot the dynamite and blew it up. Easy quad feed. And finally, this is what it looks like to get a quad feed by camping infantry. I know it's kind of hard to see because of the smoke, but there's a huge cluster of enemies grouped in this bunker on Empire's Edge, and as they started coming out, I was already outside waiting with dynamite. Now waiting for the enemies to come near a trap you set up is way easier than pushing up into the action yourself, so that's what I recommend doing if you want to try this out for the first time. Now for step 3, you're going to want to pick your location and set up your explosives. If you're going for infantry, try to set up your dynamite in tight hallways or choke points that the enemies tend to run through a lot, and if you can find an area that already has explosives in there, that's even better. If you're going for vehicles, try setting up explosives on specific roads that tanks drive on a lot. I'll recommend some places here in a second. If your target is just infantry, you really only need to use dynamite, and once you hear footsteps, throw down some smoke and shoot at the dynamite when they get close. There's no real specific layout you need to place the explosives in when going for infantry, but if you're trying to blow up vehicles, make sure you use at least 1 AT mine along with the dynamite and place it in this layout here, with 1 AT mine in the middle and the dynamite in a little triangle around it. That way you get the explosion to cover a wider area and you can completely destroy any tank in the game. Most tanks only take 1 AT mine and 1 piece of dynamite to blow up, so placing it in this layout gives you the best chance to destroy it completely, even if it's not directly on top of the explosives. Before you set the explosives though, you're going to want to blow up an AT mine first to create a little crater to hide them in. Now when your explosives are all set, make sure to shoot the AT mine once with the trench carbine and exactly 5 times with the Kolibri at point blank range. Normally, the AT mine takes multiple magazines from the Kolibri to be set off, but shooting it like this beforehand makes the mine a 1-shot with the Kolibri at close range. Dynamite is always a 2-shot at close range with the Kolibri, so make sure you shoot each piece once with the Kolibri as well. Now, if you see infantry closing in or you hear a vehicle coming up, it'll only take 1 shot to trigger the explosives. This strategy pretty much only works if you're waiting for the enemy to come to you though. Now that you've got an idea on how to set up your explosives, here's some good locations that might help with killing groups of infantry. This bunker on Argonne Forest, this passageway on the other side of the map, the backside of the first objective on operations on Monte Grappa, this entrance to the big hallway on Ballroom Blitz, really any of the hallways on Fort DeVoe, and finally this spot on Amiens at the beginning of the game. If you're going for vehicles, try using one of these spots. This road on Rupture, this spot here on Amiens, this road on Empire's Edge, this spot on Ballroom Blitz, and finally this road on Monte Grappa. Now for step 4, keep trying and especially be patient. It took me around a month and a half to get 4 clean quad feeds using the strategies I explained earlier. It definitely won't happen quickly, and trust me, you will have a lot of triples and close calls. A lot of it has to do with your positioning, but there's also a lot of luck involved, but if you keep at it, you'll eventually get it. Now just for some general tips, I'd recommend turning off both auto rotation and aim assist slowdown to help you stay locked in on the dynamite a little better. Sometimes, especially with slowdown, your crosshair will automatically start following an enemy if they run by, so just make sure you have that turned off to avoid that. Try not to die by the explosions because this might ruin the kill feed and cause your quad feed to be split, like in this clip here. Finally, throw down as much smoke as possible to help you avoid being seen. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked what you saw or you enjoy watching these more commentary-based videos, let me know down in the comments. Also, if you end up actually getting a Kolibri quad feed using this tutorial, post a link to it down in the comments. I really want to see if this little guide is actually helpful in practice. Well, that's all for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.